The square reeked of manure and fish guts, the cobblestones slick from a morning rain, but it was not the stench that made her stomach twist. It was the laughter. Look at her, dressed like a duchess, built like a barn. Rosamond stood silent as a stone while the auctioneer barked over the crowd. She stared ahead, chin high, eyes burning but dry. She would not weep. Not for them.
Her uncle leaned into her ear. Keep your mouth shut, and maybe you'll fetch more than a pig.
She didn't flinch. She'd learned not to. After her parents died, the wealth they left had lasted just long enough to feed her uncle's appetites. When the debts mounted, he'd turned to the last thing he could sell, her.
Disgraceful selling a girl like that.
A tall man stood back from the crowd, gloved hands folded, jaw locked. Dark hair curled at his collar, raindrops darkening his coat. His eyes weren't on the auctioneer, they were on her. Thorne Belgrave had come to buy a pair of horses, not a woman. But when the men in the crowd began tossing out numbers and one reached out to touch her...
I'll pay £10.
A hush. Her uncle blinked.
You serious?
Julian's voice cut through.
That girl. No, £10 and not a penny more.
Coins hit the crate, and just like that, it was done. Rosamond sat stiffly, glancing once at the stranger who'd bought her like a sack of flour. His jaw worked, as if chewing words before spitting them.
You won't be my mistress, nor my wife. I don't want gratitude. I bought you because you were about to be ruined worse.
She stared at him.
Though, then what am I to you?
He looked out the rain-blurred window.
A servant.
It should have stung. It didn't. Servants were paid. Servants ate.
Belgrave Manor stood grey and skeletal in the mist, ivy curling up the stone like veins. No one waited. No footman rushed out. He led her in without a word.
You'll tend to the household and report to Mrs. Tilling, the housekeeper. Don't ask questions, don't expect kindness.
Rosamond nodded once. Understood. He looked at her then. Really looked. She was soaked through, eyes sharp, shoulders back. Not begging, not thanking, not broken.
He'd expected a tearful girl. This one unnerved him.
Rosamond stood at the scullery table, alone, chewing slowly through a thick slice of bread and plum jam. Her fingers were sticky, her eyes half closed. She didn't hear him until he was already watching.
I see you've discovered the pantry.
She froze, mouth full, cheeks puffed, eyes wide. Thorne leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. He looked tired, but something like humour ghosted across his face.
Don't choke. I'm not here to scold.
I was hungry.
I'd be more concerned if you weren't.
He crossed to the counter and pulled a tin of tea from the shelf. The silence between them was quiet, not tense, familiar in its own strange way.
Most women I've known would rather faint than eat.
Then they were fools. He smiled at that. It was quick, crooked, and gone too fast. The days passed in a hush. The manor stayed cold, but something beneath it had begun to warm. Thorne noticed her more now, not deliberately, not at first, but in flashes. The way she moved through silence, the way her mouth tightened before she spoke. He told himself it was curiosity, nothing more, until he found himself slowing near her in the corridor and stopping. Rosamond moved through her chores silently. She polished brass without being asked. She scrubbed what no one noticed. The housekeeper had stopped giving instructions days ago. Thorne passed by, slowed, then stopped.
You're thorough.
I have no interest in being sent back. She hadn't meant to say it aloud. It wasn't a plea, just a fact. But the moment the words left her mouth, her throat ached. Why had she said it? Why give him that piece of herself? The hallway seemed to constrict around him. It was the way she said it, like it was a truth she'd worn down with use. Not desperate, not pleading, just accepted. like she already knew she didn't belong anywhere unless she fought to earn it. And it twisted something in him, because had he truly made her feel that way? That staying depended on how well she polished his brass knobs or scrubbed his blasted windows? He bought her to spare her from humiliation. Had he handed it right back, wrapped in manners and silence? She shouldn't have to earn the right to stay. Not with him. He didn't move.
You're not going to be.
That night, she passed him in the corridor again. He looked as if he'd been waiting.
Do you read?
I did, once.
It's short and decent. No romance, just quiet.
She took it. Thank you.
Don't thank me. Just tell me if it's terrible.
She dusted near the hearth. He sat beside it with a paper, barely reading. He began asking her opinion on trivial matters. Books, the cook's soup, the state of the windows. Once she made him laugh again, unexpected and rare. She wasn't like the women he'd known. She didn't reach for him. She didn't flatter or flee. And somehow, that made her unforgettable. She stood under the portico, watching the rain fall, arms crossed, shawl tight around her shoulders. He found her there.
Do you miss it? Whatever came before?
She didn't answer at first. Then, no one ever asked. He stepped closer.
I'm asking now.
I miss not being watched like a lesson.
I never meant to study you.
She looked at him then, really looked. Then what do you mean to do with me? The first snow dusted the garden like flour. Rosamond stood on the back steps, sleeves rolled, apron dusted with cinnamon, hair pinned loosely at her nape. Thorne hesitated in the doorway, watching.
Neutral. You always bake when it snows.
I don't always have flour, or permission.
You do now.
A pause. That's not the same as being wanted. He stepped forward slowly, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat of her.
Do you think I don't want you here?
She didn't answer, but she didn't look away. She passed his study door and hesitated. Candlelight flickered beneath it. Her hand hovered near the knob. She heard him moving inside. She knocked. He opened it himself. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled. I didn't mean to disturb you. I thought you might be working. I heard movement in your study.
Come. You didn't.
I was thinking about earlier. What you said. He waited.
You've been through more than anyone should. I only wish I could have spared you from all of it.
I don't want to be another thing you feel responsible for.
You aren't. Rosamond.
She looked up.
If I were another man, I'd have ruined this already. I would have ruined you.
She looked at him, confused, still, and quiet. She didn't answer, only stood there, uncertain. He stepped closer.
I don't even understand how it happened. 5 months ago, you arrived dressed like a duchess and looked at me as if I were no one. And since then, I haven't known peace.
He broke off, looked down, then met her gaze again.
There are women I've known for years I never thought about twice. But you walk past me and I forget my own name. I've never met someone who makes silence feel like a conversation.
And then, slowly, he lifted his hand, not to grab, not to claim, just to touch her cheek, if she'd let him.
You are not too much, and you are not too little. You're just you, and I don't think I know how to breathe around that yet.
Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She stood frozen, as if unsure whether to step forward or run. But when he didn't move, she stayed. The kiss was quiet, gentle. He kissed her like someone who wasn't sure he deserved to, and she didn't stop him, but she didn't lean in either, not at first. Her lips moved against his, soft, hesitant, like she didn't know whether to trust it, because part of her wanted to, desperately, and another part remembered her uncle's voice, sharp and cruel. No man will ever truly desire you. They'll pretend, until they don't need to. So when Thorne kissed her, she kissed him back, but not with certainty, with fear, with confusion, with that aching need to believe she was wrong about the world. She pulled back first, not abruptly, not with anger, Just enough space to breathe, enough to protect herself from falling all the way, and still, she didn't let go of his hand. That night, Rosamond returned to her room in silence. The warmth of his kiss still clung to her skin like a secret she hadn't earned. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring into the dark. He didn't have to kiss me. He didn't have to say anything at all. So why did he? Was it just the moment? Was it pity? She hugged her knees to her chest. The candle by her bedside flickered. Don't be foolish, Rosamond. Don't start hoping. You know how men are. You know what he could be. She remembered her uncle's sneer. You think some man will choose you, want you, use your head, go. You're just a burden someone tolerated long enough to profit from. I shouldn't have kissed him back. I shouldn't have let him think I wanted anything. And yet, her fingers still curled faintly, remembering his hand. She lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Don't look for him tomorrow. Don't you dare. You'll go to the kitchen when it's quiet, when no one will see. He probably won't even be there. He probably forgot. The next morning came with frost and dread. Rosamond stayed in her room. The sun rose, then passed its peak. She sat in the corner, dressed, waiting. Only when her stomach growled loud enough to shame her did she venture toward the kitchen. She stepped in quietly, thinking herself alone.
There you are.
She startled. Thorn was leaning by the hearth, sleeves rolled, a mug of coffee in hand.
I was beginning to think you were hiding.
She didn't answer. Her face flushed. She glanced toward the bread on the table but didn't move. He smiled gently.
There's stew, if you're braver than I am. And the cook made something sweet. Jam tarts, I think. For once, no one burned anything.
She stepped further in, still cautious, but the warmth in his voice. It undid something. He didn't say anything about the night before, not directly, but every glance, every word was gentler, more certain. He brushed past her once to reach a pot, closer than needed, just enough for her to feel the nearness of him. He set a plate in front of her.
You haven't been forgotten.
She looked up, met his eyes, just briefly, and her heart steadied, just a little. 3 days passed. She didn't speak of the kiss. Neither did he, but the silence between them had shifted, softer, stretched taut with something unspoken. That morning, without warning, the butler announced a visitor at the door. No letter, no escort, just a name, Lady Violette. She swept in like someone who had always belonged, slender, polished, raised among rose gardens and whispered expectations. Her family and Thorns had been close since childhood. They had ridden ponies in spring and played cards in winter parlours. She'd always assumed their futures would merge seamlessly, and now, older, unmarried and ever poised, she had returned, unannounced. Just for a visit, she said, but the look she gave Rosamond held no grace. She arrived in a flurry of perfume and passive cruelty. Thorn, you've taken in a housemaid with quite the appetite. Rosamond, standing nearby, froze. A teacup shook slightly in her hand.
And you've grown more unkind since we last spoke. What a pity.
Silence. Even the butler flinched. That night, Rosamond didn't come to dinner. She sat on the edge of her bed, face buried in her hands. He found her like that. I heard what you said. He crossed the room, unsure what to do with his hands. No one's ever stood up for me like that. Ever.
Then they've all been wrong, not you.
I hope I haven't ruined your friendship. I could leave.
No. If anyone should leave, it's her.
She laughed, choked and wet. He sat beside her. His thumb brushed a tear from her cheek, and then he kissed her. Soft, unsure. Her breath caught. He pulled back.
Forgive me.
She didn't speak. Her throat burned, not from tears, but from restraint. Her body had gone still, but inside her everything pulsed, everything shook. She had been kissed before. Once, it had felt like conquest. This had not. He hadn't taken, he'd asked. in silence, in trembling, and she could still feel the imprint of it, that ache of something half-formed and already fragile. She didn't know what she was to him, not yet, but in that moment when he pulled back, she knew what he was becoming to her, and she wasn't ready to let go. But even now, she couldn't be sure. Men were kind when they wanted something. She'd heard the maids whisper about him, how no woman ever stayed long, and he was still a man who had bought her, no matter how gently he treated her now. Maybe he meant it, maybe this was something real, but she had been wrong before, and if he was only being kind to soften the fall, she didn't want to look up just yet. She turned away before he could see the doubt crawl back into her eyes. What if this was nothing? What if I imagined it all? That evening she dressed slowly. The dinner bell had rung, but her hands hesitated over the last button. She entered the dining room late. Thorne rose when she did, eyes meeting hers, with quiet certainty. Violette sat already, swirling wine in her glass. "My, we're glowing tonight. Must be the kitchen fires." Rosamond said nothing. Thorne didn't look at Violette, not once. Later that night, Rosamond crossed the corridor carrying a small bundle of linens. A door creaked nearby, then a voice, Violette's, low and urgent. "You think she's fit for you? You, Thorne, after everything we shared growing up?" Rosamond froze. Then came the sound, a stumble, the clink of glass, and a breathless, surprised gasp. She turned the corner, just in time to see Violette pressed against Thorne, lips locked, her hands gripping his collar. Rosamond couldn't breathe. She turned, walked away, fast, quiet, unseen. Behind her, Thorne shoved Violette back, stunned.
"What are you doing?"
She laughed softly. "Proving a point. Let's see how far your charity extends now." But Thorne wasn't listening. He was already moving, down the corridor, out into the night, searching the halls.
"Rosamond."
No answer, just the echo of her footsteps fading.
"Please, don't believe what you saw."
Next day, the sun hadn't yet warmed the stones when a knock thundered at the front door. Fort opened it himself. A man barged past the gatekeeper, shoving the uniformed servant aside with a drunken flow. Greying, sharp-eyed, his coat unkempt and breath sharp with liquor. He wobbled forward and planted his boots on the marble tiles. Rosamond's uncle.
"I've come for my niece. She's blood, and I won't have her locked away like some fancy bird in a cage."
"You sold her."
"I raised her, didn't I? Fed her, cared for her. I've every right to come and take her back, or see what more she's worth."
Fawn's gaze chilled.
"You want her back? Fine, let's talk price."
The uncle blinked. Price?
Let's start with £10,000. Maybe more. Enough to bankrupt to king. Go on. Pay it.
The man stammered, lips flapping.
"You jest."
Not in the slightest. That is what she's worth. To me, to you, just coin. And if you haven't the purse, get out.
Footsteps echoed again. Rosamond stood on the stairs, frozen. Thorne didn't look away.
"She's my wife. Now leave my house."
"I've never been so humiliated in my life."
"Then you haven't lived long enough."
The man cursed under his breath and staggered out, slamming the door. Fawn turned, climbed the steps. She was still staring.
You didn't expect that.
She shook her head.
What would it take, Rosamond, to stop you doubting me?
He took her hands gently.
I have eyes behind. Remember, I see everything, even your fears.
She gave a small, teary laugh.
If I married you this very moment, would that help? If my heart had a voice, it would whisper every night how much I love you. You'd hear it in every breath I take.
Say it again.
I love you.
The morning light was golden. In the bridal chamber, Rosamond stood before the mirror. Her gown was exquisite, a white Georgian dress of silk and lace, pearls stitched into the bodice, delicate capped sleeves, and a satin sash tied at the waist. A sheer veil draped softly down her back, pinned with a silver comb. Downstairs, Thorn stood in a deep navy coat, cravat pressed, hair neatly tied. The ceremony was intimate, the vows simple, but spoken like promises etched in stone.
With all that I am and all that I will be, I choose you.
And I choose you in this life, and if there is another, I'll find you there too. They kissed, and outside, the bells rang.